In today's episode of Seeking True Love, I'm here with my friend, Erica Vargas. Erica is really a modern day medicine woman, and I've known her for a long time. She's a dear friend of mine, and I'm so excited to have her on the podcast today. Today, we're going to talk about how to distinguish that voice of intuition from that voice of fear.
Yeah.
This is important for anyone. I think it's especially important for women because we have these very strong intuitions that tend to get buried under layers of societal garbage. It's important for highly sensitive people because highly sensitive people have a strong intuition and we ignore it.
Anytime I find someone going through something in their life that is traumatic or like a divorce or financial failures or losing a job or super depressed or gaining weight or anything it might be, anytime we kind of do the reversal of when did this all start or what was the turn that you made that led to this, it always comes back to a point at some point where it's like my intuition told me this, but I listened to this instead.
Welcome to Seeking True Love, a podcast for highly sensitive, intuitive, growth-oriented women who are tired of shrinking themselves to fit into someone else's version of love. I'm Elizabeth Rave, dating and relationship coach for highly sensitive women, lifelong romantic, and yes, I'm a highly sensitive woman myself. Maybe you've asked yourself, why is this so hard for me? Why does love feel overwhelming or just out of reach? This podcast is here to help you understand yourself more deeply, trust your intuition again, and approach love in a way that actually works for women like us. Because love isn't something you chase, it's not some fairy tale, and it's not something that you just find one day. It's something you become ready for, because your love story should be extraordinary.
You're just right for me, and I'm just right for you, and I'll take your heart and squeeze so softly, so sweetly, forever love.
Erica Vargas is a singles and relationships expert with over 10 years of experience coaching individuals on activating healthy relationships. Through her coaching, clients have achieved transformative results such as marriage, children, meeting the partner of their dreams, and even experiencing financial growth. She is an ontological, somatic, and linguistic certified life coach, trained in the PACS method of understanding men and women's relationships integration, as well as nonviolent communication. Erica is also a certified breathwork facilitator. I want to tell a personal story about that last thing, the certified breathwork facilitator. I had not really done a lot of breathwork up to this point. I went and did one of Erica's breathwork seminars in April of 2024, and it was one of the most heart-opening experiences I have ever had in my life. And I would say this was the seed of a lot of this work that I'm doing now. Because in January of 2024, I was really coming to terms with the fact that I was not happy in my marriage. I'm now divorced. And this seminar was in April of 2024. What happened in that seminar, as I did the breath work and started to feel my heart open, is that I really came to this acceptance that there was a particular kind of, I'm just going to say true love, that I had been seeking my whole life. And I just accepted the fact that I was in my 40s and I hadn't really found it yet. And that's not to say that I hadn't had love relationships. I had had good relationships. I had tried lots of different kinds of relationships. I'd had reciprocal love. I'd had beautiful love. I had had men who were very devoted to me. So I don't want to make it sound like, oh, everything was terrible. And there was something that I had been seeking my whole life. And I just realized I haven't found it yet. And that's on me. I wasn't blaming any of the men that I had been with. I was taking responsibility that I had not really opened my heart up to that I had chosen situations and relationships that allowed me to kind of get close with it. Kind of like you want to jump in the ocean, but you're like, oh, it's cold and I'm just going to dip my toe in. Like that's what I was doing with love. And I really saw that and felt that in this breathwork seminar and said, no more. I'm going to do it. And the other thing that happened in this breathwork seminar is that I was an art major in college. I graduated in 2004. This is 2024. And I'm realizing I told myself I was going to do art as an adult after I graduated. I haven't done art in 20 years. It's been 20 years. So I need to make art again as well. And I left that breathwork seminar just knowing in my body, I don't know what exactly, I don't know how exactly, I'm going to find the love of my life and I'm going to make art again. And those two things are somehow related, and that's what's happening. And it was so clear and it was so beautiful. And then shortly after that, I met a man who I kind of thought was going to be the guy. And I even talked to Erica because she and I are friends are like, oh, I met this great guy.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks later, he was like friend zone. And he's still a great friend of mine. It was a real friendship. He wasn't like blowing me off, but he was not a fit. I got attached to him and was like, oh, look, I ran my pattern again. But what he did bring into my life was that then he moved back to the Midwest for 6 months, and I was able to rent his space as my art studio. And it was a beautiful studio in Laguna Beach, walking distance from the beach. So he wasn't the guy, but this is the art space. And that happened within months. And I had this beautiful space and I started making art. I started off painting flowers and landscapes and things like that. And I just knew that there was a way that I could go deeper with my art. I started to make art about opening my heart. And at the time I was reading the book, The Highly Sensitive Person in Love, and learning about some of the very specific ways that highly sensitive women will close their heart. And we feel too much, so then we close down. And I just realized, oh, this is why I haven't broken this barrier yet. And I started to make art pieces and write poems about that. And about 2 months after I conceptualized and started, didn't even finish, but conceptualized and started these 2 paintings in particular, and a whole series of paintings after that where I was drawing hearts and spirals and all kinds of things that were coming out of me that I'd never really experimented with before. Then I reunited with the love of my life, who is Mike. And there is a story of the two of us on this podcast. It's the story of Liz and Mike. That all happened within 6 months of this breathwork seminar. So before I've even introduced Erica, before she's even said hello, I just want everyone who's listening to know how much it means to me to have you on my podcast now, because I know how brilliant you are firsthand. So Erica, thank you so much for being here.
Well, that's a lot of kindness. And thank you so much. I receive all of those beautiful words. And I love hearing about your experience because I think it goes hand in hand with what we're talking about today that we're going to get into. But I do want to say, I got certified as a linguistic somatic coach in 2011. And I have loved coaching from the place of, limited belief and the language around it and the way our body holds it. But in 2020, when I got certified in breathwork, it was the key that unlocked everything else, if that makes sense. Like, it was like the thing that I was like, oh, I get it all now. And from the very logical, linguistic, listening to people's language, listening to the way they say things and how their language reflects in the world that they live in, and then watching how their body holds things and doesn't hold things. And to me, it's so fun. To be like, oh, look at how their body just completely caved in. What's happening right now? It's a fun place to play. But then when I got breathwork cert, and for those of you who are more grounded and earth side, I'm a little bit more of a spiritual. It was the first time I realized how important 5D is to help. And what all that means is like the 5th dimension, like the spiritual, the energy, right? If you're Gen Z, the vibe, right? Like they love to talk about the vibe. Like it's when I learned the importance of how we really hone in our energy to create the life that we are talking about, that we desire, right? How we hone the energy so that we hold the body that holds the life that we desire. And all of that is through our breath. It's called the pranayama, which means the life force, right? Like our breath is our life force. The moment it stops, we stop, right? And so it's just really important thing. And so what you're talking about right now, Liz, how that shift happened with breathwork. And by the way, this happened, I've just been working with the client. I do one-on-one breathwork now. I was just working with the client we're in October. Everything in her life has changed. And it's been August, 2 months. I got a message from her. She's like, my mind is blown. I can't even believe the amount of years I've been doing work, right? Doing the work, and things have changed, but never to the degree of where I'm at and what I'm calling in and how it's just showing up so quickly for me. And I'm like, yeah, because we're letting go of all of the stories and the toxins that your body holds that just don't serve you. That I feel personally, breath work is the, I don't want to say easiest, but the direct stop to be like, oh, this is exactly where I can stop and start to work on this stuff and release this stuff in a really beautiful way that isn't forced or hard. Liz, you and I have been in the coaching industry for, over 10 years, 15 years. We know the coaching industry will be hard on you. It's this whole very masculine, play a bigger game and you're playing too small. How do you play big? And all this language around, not forced, but really getting out of your comfort zone and all very somatically kind of a masculine energy, where I feel like breathwork is this feminine energy that comes in and goes, yes. And what if you can do all that with ease and flow
Yes.
and what we're going to talk about today, from your intuition? What if you just learn to start to listen to your intuition with so much confidence that things just start to appear in your life in the most obvious ways? Like what would happen? What would shift? And how scary is that, especially for highly sensitive people, to really listen to that part of themselves?
I love what you said there, because especially when it comes to bringing in romantic love, which is the theme of this podcast, is you talked about get out of your comfort zone, get out of your comfort zone. And yeah, you do need to break out of old limitations if you have blocks to intimacy. I think love comes in when you get into your comfort zone, like your authentic comfort zone. And that's especially true for HSPs. It's true for everybody. It's especially true for HSPs. You're just not going to make it happen forcing yourself to be somebody else. Again, that is true for everybody. And it's something that, this is why I chose to work with highly sensitive women, because of the breakthroughs that I have that I described, where I read that book and I noticed the patterns and I used things like breath work and art making and walks on the beach and pulling oracle cards. And some of that stuff might be more hippie than what somebody is interested in. And, you and I are more in the new agey side, and you don't have to do that, but you need to do things that are gentle. You need to be gentle. And what you were saying about breath work, the breath is the gateway between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. That's why there's so much deep breathing involved in anger management, anxiety management, depression management. Anytime you're going outside of medication, which I'm not anti-medication, but if you're going outside of medication and you're looking for a more natural solution, we don't even need to get into the woo. It's scientifically validated that the breath is what will take you from a heightened, anxious, upset, angry state into a relaxed state of flow. That's the gate.
Yeah, absolutely. My favorite people are the people who come into my seminars who have never done breath work, who've never done any type of work. You were at the ceremony with the girl. She was next to you, right? That cried. And her sister was
a lot of crying in that seminar.
Yeah, I know. Well, so in that one, that was the one. This woman who'd never done breath work, who never had been in this area, her sister brought her and was like, you need to experience this. This is a woman. And she cried. And she was like, I haven't cried in probably over 10 years. Like, not a tear has left my eye. And she was bawling through the whole end. She couldn't even talk or share. And I had a session with her later, and I did this whole thing around her heart and releasing. And we did a bunch of energy work around removing all of the, I don't even know how to explain it to people because I'm such a witch that I'm like, it's almost feels like cement sometimes when I'm doing energy work, removing stuff from people's heart. Like when I'm removing what's the barriers energetically from their heart during breath work. And then afterwards, I did some channeling and I was like, oh, I think your person is around the corner. Like I feel this person coming in. And she laughed and she's like, I've been dating my whole life. I've never met my person or love of my life. And I'm almost 40. This isn't happening. But I appreciate and I was like, okay, well, I'm just letting you know what I feel. If you continue to do this work and you continue to remove these blocks around your heart, this person is circling your orbit. They're just waiting for you to be ready energetically to receive that. And within 2 months, she met the love of her life. They are amazing. That was 2024. So it's been about a year, right? And even now she can't believe it, but she does believe in the work, right? She's like, but I will still do breath work. I don't know how, I don't understand how it's all working. And I don't know if I believe what's going on because I don't really get it, but I will always do breath work with you and energy work with you because something shifted in me where I suddenly was like, I can be me. I can be authentic. I can be really clear with guys and men about what I really need and want and not be worried about whether they're going to receive that or like that or choose me. It just starts to shift things. And I think a lot of times, at least what I have found in all the years I've worked with single people, is the most important part about finding true love and attracting true love is being so authentically yourself that nothing can move you off course from being you, from loving you. Nothing can move you off course. The art you were talking about, Liz, like nothing was going to move you off course to that. So of course the love of your life came in, right? Because you were like, I'm in love with this version of me that's expressing love through art and like making art and choosing, ask for things I might need to make this art happen, like a studio in Laguna Beach, right? I'm doing these things that are just, I'm not going off course. And so when the more masculine coaching industries are saying, do what's uncomfortable, and then you match that with, but if I do what's the most comfortable is a good word, but what's best for me, that's how I look at what really will work for me. And I ask the uncomfortable question. That's where it's uncomfortable. I might have to ask an uncomfortable question to get the thing that I know works best for me. That'll expand and evolve and be fully authentic and fully comfortable with who I am. And that's the uncomfortable part, which the reason why Liz and I've had so many beautiful conversations over how long we've been friends for a lot of years. And probably since 2011, 2012, that's probably around the time we became friends. And the reason why I was really excited about doing this podcast is when I work with women who are highly sensitive in my line of work, in relationships, it's often called anxious attachment or they are a dysfunctional attachment, which means they go back from anxious to avoidant. I have to get into all the details of about attachment. But what I've learned is a lot of times being misguided by their anxiety and not listening to their intuition. And their intuition, there's a lot that their anxiety or sensitivity is actually telling them about what they need and what their intuition wants to say. But it's kind of getting distorted by all of our fears and our discomfort and our ego and our wounds, our wounding, right? Like all of those things kind of distort what we're trying to listen to, which is at the very foundation of each one of us as a human, male or female, and it's never not our intuition. And so I would say that's what I work the most on, whether it's through breathwork, coaching, somatic work, tarot reading, whatever it is, it's helping them get back to really learning to listen to that voice. By the way, it's a practice. It's not the reason why it comes clear through breathwork. Like what happened to you that workshop, that's the time where it comes so clear. But on an everyday basis, it takes practice. It takes time to sit there and be, my intuition's telling me this. Let me make sure it's not my fear or my anxiety, but it's truly the best thing for what I desire, what my heart desires, what I want my life to look like.
Yes.
Yeah.
And today we're going to talk about how to distinguish that voice of intuition from that voice of fear.
Yeah.
This is important for anyone. I think it's especially important for women because we have these very strong intuitions that tend to get buried under layers of societal garbage, many layers of societal garbage. I don't even want to say the patriarchy because that's one layer and it might not even be affecting you as much as it could be affecting another woman. It may be, family, other things,
societal norms.
There's
just so much. Yeah.
It's important for highly sensitive people because highly sensitive people have a strong intuition and we ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
Where we have a stronger intuition than somebody who's less sensitive for the most part. I don't want to imply that people who have low nervous system sensitivity don't have intuition. Everyone has intuition.
Mm-hmm.
And a highly sensitive person standing next to a low sensitivity person, if they're in a situation where they could ignore intuition, the intuition might be louder for the highly sensitive person because it's going to come in the form of these sensitivity experiences. Like I don't know, I'm just not feeling good. And maybe a low sensitivity person can push through. Mm-hmm. So everybody has intuition and everybody can override their intuition, but this is especially hard on highly sensitive people because they have to push through something that's so intrinsic, and they're taught to push through more. And I think this is why highly sensitive people learn to ignore their intuition, is because they grow up in a culture that doesn't honor sensitivity, and they grow up thinking I'm too sensitive. So then they get this intuition about something, and it could just be a feeling. A lot of times intuition is a feeling like something is off, and then immediately come in with that judgment. Oh, I'm just being sensitive again, right? I'm just being so sensitive again, and it should be no big deal. I'm making a big deal out of nothing. And in reality, that's your intuition speaking to you. Now you've kind of trained yourself to ignore your intuition. If you're judging your sensitivities, you've trained yourself to ignore your intuition. And then you just don't know what is going on. And this is how I ended up in an unhappy marriage with a good guy. There's no other way to put it. And Erica, you and I've known each other since before I got married. So you know who I was married to, and you know some of the ups and downs that I went through. Women complain about, oh, my husband didn't do this, that, or the other thing, is not really what I struggled with. He's a little ADD, forgets his dishes, but he wasn't like, you're the woman, do all the laundry or whatever. That's not what I was dealing with. It was this feeling like, here's this person who has very intense energy and wants me to match his energy. And I just, for the life of me, cannot do it. And I tried and tried and tried and tried and tried. For 14 years we were together, and judged myself because I couldn't do it. And then resented him because I couldn't do it. Learned about being highly sensitive and was like, I'm highly sensitive, but it was still coming from this place of resentment and trying to fix him. And it finally got to this place where I was like, man, I'm really just trying to jam a square peg into a round hole. And that's not fair to either of us. He's still sad that I left because he still wanted us to figure out the puzzle, as he would phrase it. And I was like, I think I did figure out the puzzle. I think I figured out the puzzle in that breathwork seminar, because I was like, the puzzle is two people who fit together. That's not us romantically. There's a lot of other great things. I mean, he's a great co-parent. I'm very grateful. He's very generous. He's also a coach. I would recommend him as a coach to anybody who was seeking that kind of coach, somebody who's very intense like that. I mean, he has moved mountains in his clients, you know? And that was part of the problem, actually, is that I was looking at this person who I loved and adored and respected, and was like, look at this man and the energy that he can bring to the table and what he's all about. Why can't I make it work with him? And then finally I was like, well, what am I doing in that? Is I'm making myself wrong. And then I would turn around and make him wrong and get mad at him for all the ways that he pushed over my boundaries, even though I was the one who didn't enforce the boundaries. Right. And it's a very interesting thing to go through that and come out on the other side and realize that you have to start with your self-care and your intuition. And I just, the whole time, you know, he used to say, you have one foot out the door. And I thought, oh, this is me. I have commitment issues. But really I had one foot out the door because I was unhappy.
Well, and a lot of times we're like, well, how do I tap into my intuition? How do I follow my intuition? What is intuition? And it's like our intuition, and it is a superpower from our brain. Like, it's our subconscious that has, right now, your brain is picking up everything going on around you. Not your consciousness, your subconscious, everything. That's why sometimes moms will be like, oh, I know exactly where that scarf is that you're looking for. Right? And you're like, how does she know that? But that's because her brain scans a room to protect her children, which means it scans for everything. Like, and it's not even conscious. It's not like you walk into that room being like, that scarf might be missing later. Someone might be looking for it later. I better track where it's at. It's just what our brain's doing constantly since we were born. And so our subconscious is holding all this information about the world. And then it tells our intuition, our gut, our body, right? Because our body holds a lot of information as well. And they work together like, this is what we do. And a great example of that is when me and my ex-husband divorced, it was so clear to me. The moment that something happened, I knew I was out. Like there was no, and I had a lot of people telling me, you have to work on it. You have to do this. You got to do this. You got to go to counseling. And I did. I went to counseling. I did all these things. I listened to everybody else, even though my intuition was like, this is not for you. You made the wrong decision when you married this person. That's okay. You can forgive yourself for that. But the thing is that on my wedding date, I knew I didn't want to get married. It was clear as day. So I was never surprised when we got divorced. So like, this isn't something I wanted the day I got married. And it's not because of anything this man did. He treated me so well. He did everything for me. Like, I can go on and on. And I didn't listen to my intuition. And this is what I find. Anytime I find someone going through something in their life that is traumatic or like a divorce or financial failures or losing a job or super depressed or gaining weight or anything it might be, anytime we kind of do the reversal of when did this all start or what was the turn that you made that led to this, it always comes back to a point at some point where it's like, my intuition told me this, but I listened to this instead.
Mm-hmm.
Always. It's always like, my intuition told me XYZ, but I listened to this. And I've met your husband. He is a catch or ex-husband. On paper, he's like the guy, he had this coaching history. He's super charming, outgoing. He's good looking. If I remember correctly, he's also tall, right? Like, he's all these things. I mean,
Yeah.
right? But it's all the things we're like, check, 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 check. So a majority of women are going to not listen to the intuitive part that's like, but is this true love? Because we're like, wait, but this is a really great cat. This is what I've been taught my whole life, that this is what I'm looking for and how I have found it. And I'm so lucky because I found the thing, the person, the human that I was looking for. Most people, and this is really the saddest part about a lot of times when I do, one of the things I do, which Liz has done as well, it's called a man menu. And I made that title up in 2011, guys. So don't come at me with the patriarch and all the stuff. But
It's a
I
great
made
title.
that
I'm gonna say
and
it's a great title.
feminism and all the things and LGBT, but in it, one of the questions I ask, think of a man in your life that you admire. And the amount of times a woman cannot think of one man in her life that she admires breaks my heart.
Mm.
Another question I ask is, think of a healthy couple that you would, not that you want your relationship to be like, but that inspires you. So often, women can't think of a relationship that inspires that. Our subconscious doesn't have the patterning in it for true love, right? For that love of my life, what that feels like, what that looks like, what it gets to look like. And so I think a lot of times we have to go off our intuition, and our intuition is completely unaligned with like what society has showed us. And our intuition tells us, no, there's a man out there or a woman out there who can treat me in such a way that brings me so much joy and happiness that I'm not abandoning myself when I'm with them. I'm not abandoning the person that I desire to be when I'm with them. Because that's the other thing I often see is how often we abandon ourselves to be in the relationship. And for lack of better words, that we know everybody will be envious of. Like, that's really, this is an envious relationship. We're both good looking. We're both successful. We're both want children. We both are kind, all the things, right? We create these lists of, wow, I would be envious of that world or that life. And that's, I don't mean that in a judgmental way. I think we all do it. This is what we all wanted, and I'm getting the thing we all wanted. So I kind of going to go ahead and abandon the part of me that's like, I don't know if this is the right thing. I don't know if this is the right person for you. I knew from a very young age I didn't want to get married, but I did it anyways. I abandoned that version of myself that was like, that's not for you. You actually don't believe in the institutions of marriage. I bring this up because when you ask the question, what's your intuition? I think it's just so many different things. It's your body. It's your subconscious, the patterns that you have recognized your whole life. It's spirit. It's a spiritual thing. It's a soul thing. And it's all kind of mixed into one. But I heard someone recently say this, and I love it. Your intuition is a statement. And you asked about, is it fear, anxiety? We're going to talk about that. And I want to get more into that. Our fear and anxiety is a question, right? And so if you think of it this way, am I happy in this marriage? It's a question. Not your intuition. That's probably your fear. Did I choose something wrong? But when you were in that breathwork, you were like, not it. This is not it. Two people coming together in true love looks like XYZ. You knew. Wasn't a question, statement. It wasn't like, should I start doing art again? Would that make me happy? It was like, I need to do art again. I haven't done it in 20 years. I need to do it. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm getting this download now, but I need to follow it, right? It wasn't a question. It was like, this is the thing that I need to do. And I love that because I think that's the best way to explain to people. And I'll use it even on the simpler term because this is the biggest one I get when I'm dealing with single people. What does this person mean when they say XYZ, right? It's the question. Like, do they like me or do they not like me? And I'm like, okay, that's your fear and anxiety. Let's go to the statement. What do you know? What does your intuition tell you? Oh, well, my intuition tells me I'm really uncomfortable with being in the question. Okay, great. That's your intuition. I'm uncomfortable with not knowing if this person likes me or doesn't like me. I know, but isn't that my anxiety? Maybe. But that's actually your intuition that's like, hey, I need clarity on this because I deserve clarity on this. I deserve to know where I stand with this human. But being like, oh, do they like me? Do they not like me? That's your anxiety. My intuition is like, I need to know because I deserve to know. I know how I feel about them, but I get to know what they feel about me too. And that's when we get into the uncomfortable. Well, now I have to have a conversation with them and say and state, this is what I need. Do you want to give it to me? And that's where our anxiety, and I'm using quotation marks, can lead us to our intuition, right? Because it's okay, well, then I have to ask the question, not sit in the question. I have to ask it to this person because my intuition is telling me it's something I need. I need to know, or I'm going to keep being in fear or in anxiety or this weird, uncomfortable space and being in a relation with someone. And that's where it gets really uncomfortable because now you're being vulnerable, right? You're showing your authentic self and what it needs and where it's at.
I love that distinction of a question versus a statement because you're right. Fear does ask more questions than it gives answers. And intuition, when it really comes in, it is so clear. And the scary thing is, okay, I've gotten this clear download, as you put it. Now I have to do something about it. That's the scary thing. A lot of these avenues that we've talked about, whether it's breath work, making art, different coaching styles that you and I are both trained in, or different modalities that we've trained in, what they have in common is that they are taking you deeper into your intuition. So my training is also in NLP and hypnosis. And a lot of those processes, especially hypnosis, the hypnotic state is a state of tapping into the deeper subconscious, into the deeper intuition, because these answers, they bubble up from the surface. And you can experience that as coming from spirit. You can also experience that as coming from the deeper layers of your own neurology, your own mind, the parts of your mind that are below the tip of the iceberg, which is the conscious thought and the body. There's so much that just lives in the body that isn't in conscious thought. That's what I love about this work is I'm very spiritually agnostic. I can go to the woo and I don't have to go to the woo because in my mind, I'm like, you're kind of doing the same thing either way.
Yeah.
Your intuition is going to come out either way.
Yeah.
You don't have to believe in angels and numerology and astrology to go to intuition. It's going to work anyway. It's going to come out no matter what.
Yeah. And that's why I say it's layers, right? That's why I always share with people. Yeah, there's a subconsciousness of patterns we have created around the world since we were born about the way the world responds, right? And then there is what our body feels, right? Whenever I've explained to people like somatic coaching, I'm always like, okay, have you ever just met someone and your body was like, I don't know, I don't like them. And you don't know what it is. And your body's kind of stays away from them, maybe closes off, like you put your arms, you cross your arms, or you don't speak to them, or you don't really make eye contact with them, and you don't know why. It's like this intuitive thing that's like, and people ask you like, well, did they do something? And you're like, I don't know, like it was their energy, and that's somatic. It's somatic. Something in their body didn't align with maybe what something they said or the energy they brought, and your body was like, nope, it's not aligned. Something that's not authentic. Something's telling me something's off there, and so I don't trust it. And that's it. And it's just your body talking to their body, and their body being like, and then if you get deeper into those conversations with people, you often find, and we'll judge it. Let's be real. I'm going to be real on this podcast. And then we judge it. Oh, they're fake, or they're trying too hard, or, we go into all these things, or they're wearing a mask, right? If you go into nervous system work, it's a mask. And all those things are true. We all do that from a place of trying to create safety in our world. No matter what, we're just trying to create some safety in our world. But when our body feels that their masks are on, we feel it. It's like, it's a natural instinct of something is, my intuition's telling me. And then so Liz might be right next to me and be like, I love them. I've actually talked to them for years. We've been great friends. I don't know why you're feeling that, right? Because her subconscious has had a completely different experience with that person. And so her intuition is completely different. And that's okay too. Because like I said, sometimes when we get past that mask and we get past our first intuitive feelings about them, it can shift, it can change because the subconscious patterns start to change. So that, of course, everything's scientific at the end of the day. And as I've done this work more and more, especially when I got to breath, I was like, oh, there is also something bigger. And me, if you want to be in the scientific place, it's energy, right? That's what it is. Now, if you go into the woo, to me, it's spirit, it's our soul. It's, when you want to really practice getting into your intuition, you practice those questions, right? When I talk about fear and anxiety having wisdom, those questions are wisdom. If your fear and anxiety goes, I don't know, there's something about this person I don't trust, then you get deeper into the question. Okay, well, why? What is it? Is it something that I've experienced in my life? Do they remind me of someone? Do they have the same energy as someone I know? Get more into the questions until you get the statement that says, you know what? I haven't really gotten to know them. And that's what I need to do to see if I'm going to actually like this person. And if I get to know them, I still don't like them, I'm okay with that. Or, you know what? I don't need to get to know them. I'm just going to follow my intuition. I don't know what it is about them, but that's where I'm at. You follow the question until you get to the statement. And your intuition will get there. But that's why it takes practice. Because once it happens, it's quick. It's like, nope, don't want to know, don't care. I'm going to stand over here. Everyone else can talk to that person. And I'm going to stand over here and talk to these other people that I feel more comfortable with and whatever it might be. We do this with like purchases too. We buy something. It's like a gut feeling of like, oh, I like that color. I'm going to go with that. And we trust that, which is really funny. Think about when we purchase things, how much more we trust like buying something with our money than we do with asking for something we need from another person.
It's less vulnerable.
Less vulnerable, right? Because like, oh, and it's for me. I'm buying this thing for me. I'm the only one who has to deal with it. But if we use that same intuition and we just kind of move it a little to like, okay, well, what do we need from the people around us, right? What's our intuition telling us? Gut feeling what I need from this person. And what do I need to ask them, or what conversations do I need to have with them to get that thing that I need?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to go back to something you said.
Yeah.
Because you were talking about trusting. Well, there's two things that I want to highlight. One is this experience of intuition being personal. I know that I did this thing for a long time where I would meet somebody and either I liked them or didn't like them, but whatever. I got a certain intuitive hit. And then whoever I was with, they'd have a different experience. And then I would second guess myself. And I think it's very important to realize that your intuition is for you personally. You're going to resonate with somebody and the person next to you might be like, I don't like that person. And don't let that throw you off if you are feeling good, or vice versa. If you're with someone that was like, oh man, that guy who was hitting on you, he's such a catch. And you're like, oh, really? Because I was super uncomfortable. You don't want to get in your head. You want to stay understanding that your intuition is personal. And then you don't have to make it about the other person.
Nope.
It's about you.
Yeah. I love that you put it that way because it is personal. And that's why I say keep asking the question. Because there's definitely been times I have realized, oh, I'm uncomfortable with this person because it's very clear to me as a highly sensitive person that they are very insecure and they're trying to come off as very confident. And I want to know who they really are. And so I don't trust them until I know who they really are. Then I have to ask myself, do I want to make that effort with this person since they're Liz's good friend and I'm going to be around them often? Do I want to make that effort because we're going to spend the weekend together in this retreat? Because that often happens at retreats or things like that for me, right? Where my sensitivity is kind of filtering out who I want to get to know and who I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. I think that it's completely personal to me because sometimes I find out, well, I'm doing the thing they're doing. And that's why I'm triggered by it, right? Like that sometimes happens. So it becomes this beautiful learning for me through it, being like, oh, I'm also wearing this mask right now. And so I'm also not being as authentically myself because I'm insecure about XYZ, whatever that might be, right? And it could be an opportunity to learn something more about ourselves. And sometimes it's just not a right fit. It's a personal journey. And someone else's journey to like kind of yours throws you off track from really learning more about your intuition and how to follow it and how to become more and more yourself and authentically yourself.
What you said about it being a learning experience is really important. It's not like, okay, I had this intuitive hit. It really was my intuition. I can tell it's the voice of intuition. So therefore, it's 100% correct. It's just don't push through it. Maybe you'll learn something. Maybe there's something for you to heal, and then you'll realize, oh, I was wrong. Don't judge a book by its cover. First impressions aren't always right. Maybe you'll realize that the thing that the intuition was pointing to was actually healing for you. And you reminded me of, I think this was 2009, 2010, and I was single and I wanted to meet someone to get married. And I was at a retreat and there was an older gentleman there, and I was connecting with some of the other people. It was a co-ed group, different ages. There was an older gentleman there who was sort of trying to connect with me. And for some reason, I was not feeling it. And I just kept getting this weird thing. And because it was that kind of seminar where people were talking about energy, at one point he actually commented, I feel like I'm trying to connect with you and it's not working. And when he called it out, I actually reflected on it. And what I realized is that it's not about him. It's that I'm kind of filtering for younger men who would be eligible marriage partners for me. And because he's so much older, I'm kind of just ignoring him as invalid. And I was like, oh, I don't like that. I still want to connect with him as a person. He's actually trying to be very warm to me. And I was able to warm up to him a little bit more as a friend, after that. Not like, oh, I should want to date an older guy. It wasn't like that. It was just that I was like, oh, I can still connect to this other person's heart. Like, he's not doing anything other than not being a guy that I want to marry, which is like, doesn't mean I need to ice him out, right? Yeah. And it was a very good moment for me to recognize, like, that's kind of immature. That's sort of like my version of the creepy dude that goes to the meetup and only hits on the hot girl and won't talk to anyone else. Like, we all hate that dude, right?
That dude's
and I'm
the
like,
worst.
I'm kind of doing that a little bit by not giving this guy time and energy and presence when he's trying to talk to me, because he's not some hot young guy that I want to meet. And that was a really good notice for me. It's still important to pause and reflect on, okay, what is this? Because when people push through, you don't get the lesson, or you don't avoid the person that actually is creepy and you should avoid them. So you're missing out either way when you push through. So you listen to your intuition no matter what. And you can also reflect on it. Okay, what's going on here? Why am I being guided to hit the pause button on this?
Yeah, love that. So true. 100%. The way you're explaining it is it's an opportunity either way. Either way, when we truly start to practice listening to our intuition, it's an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity for boundaries. It's an opportunity to ask for what we need. It's beautiful. It's my favorite thing when I start to see my client really listening to their intuition and ask. And let me tell you, at first they'll just ask me, right? I get the text message. So what I'm feeling and thinking is X, Y, Z. These are the questions I have. They start with me, right? They're bouncing off of me to see, like, am I in the right direction? Like, is this happening? And then I'll slowly and eventually I get the message. It's like, okay, this is what's happening. And I know that this is what you would say, but this is and I'm like, no, go with your intuition. I trust your intuition. You get to trust your intuition, right? And so I 100% agree. It's an opportunity to get to know yourself. Yeah.
I want to talk about it now from the flip side, because we've been talking about the intuition of what if someone makes you uncomfortable. Yeah. There's another experience that I had as I started to do this practice in my own dating life that is one of the reasons why I went from having really, let's say, terrible, unfulfilling dating experiences to much, much more fulfilling dating experiences, is that I started to pay attention to, who is my body attracted to? Who am I flirting with? Because I would catch myself flirting with men that I didn't necessarily, I wouldn't even say they weren't good looking, but they didn't look like Prince Charming from the Disney movies. Let's just put it that way. And when I noticed that, it was like, wait, I talked to this guy for 2 hours. I had a great time. I'm all flushed. I'm turned on. What is going on there? Because in my head, I'm whatever, he's not hot. Clearly, my body has a different story to tell about this guy. And then vice versa. I would talk to the tall, dark, and handsome guy, and I'd be like, oh, wow, I feel nothing. You know? And that's something to listen to as well, because it'll break you out of these scripts that you've maybe written for yourself about who you should date or who's going to look good in your wedding photos or whatever that story is, and pay attention to who is really lighting up your body and your nervous system.
Yeah. Do they make you feel safe?
Yes.
And so this is the biggest thing I see is, yes, I work with women with standards, and they get into their standards and they're like, these are the checklists, which, yes, it's just, to me, it's like a guide. And then there's this next level of how does this person actually make you feel, right? In your body, how do they make you feel? And so what I will notice, we'll just call her like client A, will be like, he's so hot, he's successful, he plans dates. When we're together, we have such a great time. He's charming. He just seems like such a like great fit. He's meeting all my standards. Yet it's been 4 days since I've heard from him. And I haven't heard from him. And now I'm like feeling anxiety. Should I reach out to him? Should I message him? Right? The questions, anxiety questions. Should I do this? Should I do that? No statements. Just like, does he like me? Why am I feeling this way? Shouldn't I be like the cool girl and be like, okay with not hearing from him for a few days?
Ugh, don't be the cool girl.
Yeah. And I always go back to right now, your intuition's telling you something. What is it telling you? Right? Like, what is your intuition telling you right now? Right? What need do you, and at first, when they first start off with me, I have to kind of give them the like green lights, like, sounds like your intuition's telling me like someone who can go 4 days without talking to you is a really good fit for you. Even if he's gorgeous, successful, you have a great time when you're together, like, this doesn't work for you personally.
Right.
It doesn't make you feel safe. It doesn't turn you on. And I'll even use that. And I was like, now, if you want to still try to make this work, I'm also okay with giving some men some pointers, right? That's okay with me. And you might want to say to them, hey, it really turns me off when we're disconnected, when we're not connecting through the week and we're only connecting, when we see each other in person. Like that. You don't have to say, I'm getting anxiety, I'm insecure. You could be like, it's a turnoff for me. Does it feel good? I'm just letting you know. Like, is that something that you have in you to change? It can just be a little bit of witty banter throughout the week so that I know that we're still connecting, because that turns me on and gets me excited about seeing you this weekend, right? That's such a vulnerable thing to say to someone. Then instead, you'll get, clearly you're not interested because I haven't heard from you in 4 days. So why don't we just end this now, right? That's not what they feel. That's not real. That's just them being like, I'm going to push you away now because I feel really insecure and anxiety. Instead of, hey, I'm really not feeling very turned on by our interactions lately, but I like you and I love spending time with you. And I think that if you and I actually connected through the week, I'd be even more excited. Yeah, to take my clothes off for you this week. You know what I mean? Like, those are things that are going to be a lot more exciting for me versus should I sleep with him or should I not sleep with him? I haven't heard from him all week, which is what you get, right? And then you sleep with him and then you feel guilty and shame because then you don't hear from him again that week. And you're like, slept with him this weekend and I don't understand why I haven't heard from him. You haven't actually followed your intuition and said to this person, I'm not turned on by not being connected with you through the week.
Yeah, what you said about should I sleep with him or should I not sleep with him? The answer is in whether or not your body is turned on.
Yeah.
That's your answer. You're like, oh, I'm not turned on. Should I sleep with him? What? I think you just answered your own question.
Exactly. Your intuition's telling you, if you answer your question, create a statement. Well, no, I'm not turned on by this, so I shouldn't sleep with them. But the thing is that we'll get together and he's so charming and he's so good looking and we have a good time. And then we sleep together. And then once again, that week, he's still not texting or calling. Nothing's changed. And instead of being in your intuition of maybe I'm not turned on by him because this is really unattractive behavior to me. And I think it's okay to say that to someone. Hey, this behavior doesn't turn me on. And I tell them all the time, if you use that language, men, it clicks in their brain because what they're trying to do is turn you on because at the end of the day, they want sex from you and connection. They want a lot of things, but they definitely want that thing. They want the physical connection from you. So if they're like, wait, I'm doing things that make her not want to sleep with me, they're either going to be like, well, that's not me. You should move on. Or they're going to be like, oh, let me see how I can change my behavior to continue to make you feel safe enough to want to sleep with me.
I love that you said that because we've been talking a lot about getting the intuitive hit.
Yeah.
What doesn't feel good to me? What does feel good to me? And men are not mind readers. I know you've done a lot of work in the differences between men and women and masculine energy and feminine energy. And men are not mind readers. You still need to be having these conversations. Like you can't just make an assumption. You can say this doesn't feel good to me. It doesn't feel good to me to have someone not text me for 4 days. You don't ignore that. Don't try to be the cool chick. I called her the cool chick. She was the chick who tried to be cool with all the behavior. And it was, she was not cool. Then the woman who would blow up at men would take over after the cool chick had been around for too long. These are parts of me that I had to work with. And I finally was like, Cool chick is not, she's not where it's at. But you still need to have these communications. So a lot of times this intuition, like you said, it is pointing to communication. That's where it can be uncomfortable because there is clarity. And I know that a lot of women think that men should know something that they don't know. You and I have both done a lot of coaching work with men as well as with women. And if there's one theme that I noticed with men, they don't know what you think they should know. Like whatever that is, I'm like, you need to spell it out in such plain language, not hinting, not dancing around, not he should know. If he really knew me, he would know, he would figure it out. You need to just say it.
Yeah.
And so I love that example you gave of like, hey, it doesn't feel good to me. It doesn't turn me on when I don't hear from you for 4 days. I want more connection than that. That's a clear communication.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of women are like, I shouldn't have to say that. I don't have to say that. No, you need to
because
say
he might have,
or some version of
his girlfriend might have been like, you text me too much. We don't know.
Yeah, you don't know what's going on.
She might have been like, I'm really busy and you text me all the time and it really drives me crazy. I just needed to hear from you when we're making plans. You know?
Yeah.
So then he's like, oh, well, women don't want to hear from me all the time. That seems desperate or too much, right? We don't know their shared experience of the world. So we have to, and they don't know ours. And if they don't change their behavior, then it's like, okay, this isn't the right fit for me. My intuition is telling me because I'm in all these questions during the week, no statements, which it's telling me I should be in a statement. I should either know you like me or know that you don't. Like I should know these things. And I don't because of the way we're interacting during the week. And so, yeah, that's what I really love about the more and more you get to know yourself. And I also call it the more you stand up for yourself and your needs, because you deserve to have the more others to stand up for your needs and want to give you everything.
I want to recap so far. We've been talking about the difference between intuition and fear. And you said that intuition is more of a statement and it's clarity, and fear is more of a question, and it could even be a what if question. And so you get that clarity, and that clarity points you in the direction of maybe an action to take or a conversation to have or something. Any other words of wisdom or advice that you would have, especially for strong women who do have a good intuition? What are some tips on making sure you're really following that and not getting in your head?
One of the first ones is owning it. And sometimes you might have to even defend it and getting good at practicing that, because that will happen in the world we live in. Because the world wants you to shove that intuition back in because it doesn't align with maybe what everybody else needs or someone else needs or your work needs. And so really learning how to claim it and defend it. And I always use this as an example. It took me a long time to be okay with my sensitivity, to actually find it as a superpower. And I had someone that I was very much, I don't want to say in love, but like infatuated with, that I was dating. And I just felt like he was such a great match for me. And I gave him some feedback about something he said to me. And he said, you're really sensitive. I'm like, thank you for saying that, because it's taking me a long time to become this person who will follow what their body tells them, their intuition tells them, and to say something to the person that's making them feel not so great about themselves when they say the things they say or when they do the things they do. It's taken me a long time to become this person, to really own how sensitive I am to the things around me. And to know that even if I defend them, there will be someone there, maybe not you, but there will be someone there that will get it. I trust that. I trust that there will be someone who will be like, yep. And someone who will actually get value from it. Because that's what I find. The women who really start to follow their intuition and own it and claim it and defend it, and they get in partnership, most men get so much value out of their partner's intuition. Like in a crazy way. And I see that even just with my guy friendships, they get so much value out of it. But other people will not value your intuition and your sensitivity unless you do. They won't defend it unless you do. You have to be the one to be like, thank you. I know.
Yeah.
It's not an easy world to live in when I'm like this, when I'm the person who can energetically feel vibes, who can tell when you're lying to me because you said something and my body was like, no, that's not what you mean. And I don't even think you're lying on purpose. You just don't know your own truth, right? And so you're saying the thing that maybe you think it's going to resolve or create less conflict versus now, what do you really feel? What's really going on in there? Let's have a little conflict because I'm going to defend like my sensitivity and I want you to defend your truth. And I want us to figure out how to live together in both of our truths. That's the goal.
That's so beautiful. I love
Right?
that you shared that example because that is such a good model for all women, especially highly sensitive women, to understand and own that as a gift.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you now
Yeah.
the main question of the podcast. We're going to
Mhm.
end on this after we've had all this beautiful conversation. Erica, what is true love?
That's such a good question. True love. I think true love, I have a few different things that I love to share with people. I think that true love is both people really feeling like they got the better deal out of the bargain. Like, that's true love to me. I see it. My parents have been married 55 years and they definitely have true love. And you'll see it. My dad will always be like, well, I wouldn't be able to be without your mom. My mom will always be like, oh, your dad takes such good care of me. The way that they see each other, like, oh, you're the gift in my life, right? Like, you're not the, yes, it takes work to keep you in my life, but you're not the work in my life. You're the gift in my life. And I think that's true love. The other thing, as I've worked in breath work, nervous system work, is what we were talking about earlier. True love, when people are like, they'll say things like, when you know, people are like, I don't know how to explain it. You just, you know. I believe that is our bodies feel safe. Our emotions feel safe. Even if there's conflict, we still feel safe. We still feel like that person is on our team. Even if we have conflict with each other, we know that I'm still safe here. I'm safe here to be messy. I'm safe here to be mean sometimes because I'm a human being and it happens. I'm safe here in all the different spectrums of my emotions. I'm safe here to be overweight. I'm safe here to be skinny. I'm safe here to be athletic. I'm safe here to be lazy. I'm safe in this space. And I really think that that's true love. I'm safe to sometimes not like you very much, but still always love you, right? Because that's what we've created together. And then I think the last thing with true love that I think is kind of, I don't know if it's something other people will agree with, but it's something for me that I think is really, really important, is I think true love is the person that you always want to, this is going to sound kind of, and I just thought of this recently too. When they're around, something inside of you wants to touch their hair or touch their hand, or it's not even a sexual act necessarily. But that's what I realized as I talk about my parents. When my mom leaves a room, they've been married 55 years. My dad will still be like, no kiss. You know what I mean? Like, no kid, you're leaving, no kiss. You know, it's just this, it's this person that even if our minds start to go out, our body looks for that person, right? In the bed, next to us, you know. I remember my grandparents, they would still hold hands everywhere. Like, I still want to be close to this person, not because they can provide, protect, make me laugh, you know, all the things we look for when we're younger, right? No, I just want their presence near me. And I think that that's really true love. And you just want them in the room, even if you guys are doing two different things.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the way I see it. Yeah.
I love that. Erica, if people want more of you, where can they find you? How can they get in touch with you?
I do have a website, breathmindspiritshine.com, where you can find me and my events that I do, but I am updating my website. So if you just want to directly talk to me, at Erica O. Vargas on Instagram is the easiest way to get a hold of me. I also have a TikTok.
I'm going to put all this in the show notes too.
I would say Instagram and breathmindspiritshine.com. Those both are the best ways to find Erica.
Great. And I'll put all your links in the show notes. So anyone who's seeking Erica, check it out. Breathwork.
I loved this. Thank you, Liz. This was so fun.
Thank you so much. This is so fun. And maybe we'll do it again.
Yeah, I definitely think we should.